My name is Ryan Hirsch. I'm the Executive Director for Bigger Vision of Athens. We're a nonprofit homeless shelter here in Athens, Georgia that serves adults 18 or older who are experiencing homelessness. We do this primarily through two programs. Our first one is the Emergency Shelter Program, and that's for adults experiencing homelessness. We have enough room for up to 35 individuals, and every night people call in at 4 p.m. to reserve a bed for the evening. Guests who arrive at 6 p.m. are provided with dinner. We have shower service, we have laundry service, lots of donated clothing items, hygiene stuff, which everybody has access to. And then in the morning we provide a nice breakfast and everybody departs at 7 a.m. And then the other program that we use to try to help the community is called Abundant Life. And that's for individuals experiencing homelessness who are employed or in a workforce training program, and they're actively working to get into a stable housing situation, and they're allowed to stay with Bigger Vision for up to 6 months while we work on savings and budgets and financial case management and anything they need to ensure that they're happy and safe and stable once they move out of the shelter. Bigger Vision has changed my life in more ways that I could count. I originally arrived as an intern in graduate school, having had lots of experience working in shelters with animals, but I've never worked in a shelter with human beings. And I thought, well, this will be a fun new challenge. I wonder what this will be like. And very quickly learned how just special of a place Bigger Vision is and the people we work with and how important it is. And you very quickly see a lot of, there are a lot of things that maybe you think before you start to work with this population that quickly melt away. And you learn how easily anybody could become part of this population, and many people are just a few bad days away from maybe having to call into the shelter, and it's very eye-opening. And then as you're there for longer periods of time and you get to meet people who maybe have come to the shelter for the first time, and you get to see it through their eyes, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, this is like a really important, special place, and it's helped me grow in a lot of ways and be more appreciative of the things I have and the things that I have no control over. Because the unfortunate truth is that a lot of people we serve are at Bigger Vision because of things that happened in their life that they didn't have any control over. Knowing that really does provide some level of deeper respect for the things that I have, and it's just a better understanding, I think, of what's important, and just being able to help people in big ways and small ways, because sometimes some people we help them get new housing, and that's an amazing feeling. But other times we're handing out snacks for somebody maybe hasn't had a meal, and it's the little things like that that really help you realize how important life is and what's important in life. It really made me appreciate the people in my life a lot more and the things that they've done for me to help me be successful. Yeah, it's just, it constantly has you thinking about the things in life that are most important to you, and why it's important to cherish those things and not take advantage of the opportunities we have, and to treat people with kindness and love and respect and honesty, and to just know that no matter what situation you're in, we're all the same, and treat people with love.
My name's Andrew Caudill, and I'm from Fort Myers, Florida. I've been here since '94, came to go to school. I ended up doing an apprenticeship program in Atlanta for electrical contracting, and I got my electrical contractor's license, and I owned a couple of businesses here in town. One was Albright Electric, which is still in business, and I sold it. So I'm a licensed electrician.
I was in ICU, got a bacteria in my heart, and was there January and February. I died and then got brought back, and I woke up in ICU and had to go through 6 weeks worth of antibiotics, IV antibiotics, oral antibiotics, and I'm still going through getting blood cultures all the time. We stayed at a hotel for a while, but it just got so expensive, it was like wasting money. He had found out about Bigger Vision and while I was in ICU, and so we came here and stayed, and It's been a lifesaver.
We're fortunate enough to have, through resources through here and the community, we were able to find a room for rent, and
Yeah.
we move in on the 2nd of June. So
Yeah.
things will get back to normal. But
Yeah.
we've had a tumultuous past 6 months, to say the least. But we've just taken things as they've come and dealt with them, and just tried to make the best next right choice, and
Yes.
so things, they work out the way they should. We're very grateful, very humble.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's a stipulation with homelessness, where everyone's drunk or mentally ill, and although I have found that there are some cases where that's true, the people that I have come to know and that I would call my friends, are mostly people that I met here. It's changed me as a person. We have vowed that through this experience, that no matter what life brings us from here on out, we want to give back,
Yes.
to the community,
And
and
all
to
the people
homeless
here,
people,
yeah.
in general. We've both agreed that we're going to volunteer in places like this for the rest of our life because of the experience that we've had here.
We've been able to save money, and kind of put back, kind of stabilize, and not kind of rush in anything, basically. And it's given us shelter, the food. Jason and the guys are great. David, Bobby, all of them. They really try to help and go beyond the power of what's, demanded.
It's been a very humbling experience too, because at first I was, embarrassed, or like, what am I doing here? And then especially bringing her here, because it got to a point where we were paying $460 a week to stay at a place, and it was very hard a couple months ago to try to find a place. Most of the places that rent around, in this being a college town, it was August to August were most of the leases. But it's changed my perspective on homelessness in general. It humbled me to no end, but in a good way. And it's made me realize that things happen and you can't always control everything that happens. But Bigger Vision is basically, like she said, has provided a place for us to sleep at night, whereas we otherwise would not have had a place. We have become more open. We'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
We'll befriend anybody. But that's helped us as people, grow and become better people ourselves, because we've found where in the past we might have been judgmental, or we might have passed judgment on someone just by seeing them, and thinking that they're homeless, or, thinking that they're either on drugs or alcohol or mentally ill. But it's helped me as a person, to be more critical of my own thinking, and not be judgmental of people, and not think that I'm better than anyone else, because I've always had that problem with thinking that I'm, Mr. Licensed Electrician. It's helped us tremendously, and it's made me appreciate things that I think I probably took for granted before, like a shower, being able to wash my clothes. For me, moving forward, and what I want to take out of this is giving back anywhere I can.
Yeah, and just getting our family back together and moving on with the things that we've lost, and move our life around, basically. Everything that we knew before has changed, so everything is starting brand new, and I want to pay rent way ahead of time, and yes, and keep 2 cars at all times.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. For one, not to forget where I've come from, and that there was a time that I was in the situation that these people are. So
Provide the hope, strength,
yes,
and, story for others that might be going through what we went through when we
Yes.
first got here. So.
I guess I'd just say that basically this is just another step in my story, and that things from here can only go up, and to just be patient and take care of the things that are most important right now, and then work toward the goals that we have, and the rest will fall into place, and not try to control things that are out of my control.
I think we were very, very fortunate because there was someone here last night. It was a family that was volunteering their time and their money or resources to feed us, and the time that they took to actually serve us. I don't know what else we would have done other than stay in a tent somewhere. I remember when this place opened, and I never imagined that I would ever be a patron here, but I know that I am basically indebted to this place for what it's done for me, and I know that I'm going to donate my time and resources when able, because it's like she said, it's just something that, you know, if I had the money, I would most certainly donate my money to Bigger Vision, you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, because I know what it's done for me, you know, and what it's done for her. And all of them have been lifesavers. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to thank them all.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Deborah Hess, and I am currently the president of the board of directors for the Bigger Vision of Athens. The Bigger Vision came to be, it began in 1998 when Ann Clark, who was a member of St. James United Methodist Church, was driving by the Salvation Army one winter night and saw many men just standing out there. And the Salvation Army had a homeless shelter, but they could only accommodate so many people, and all these men were left out in the cold. And she came to the church and said, can't we do something for these men? And so the church allowed her to use the fellowship hall where we are today and vans to actually go and bring back 14 men, and they were bedded in here. They were able to get mats for them. They had volunteers to bring a dinner in every evening. And so they'd at least have a warm place to stay when it was really, really cold. It was an overnight emergency shelter. It was only on the coldest nights at that time. They only operated during winter, obviously. And it remained here until 2004 when there was a fire at St. James, and they had to move. And the homeless shelter at that point went to Cornerstone Church on Lexington Avenue. And I think it remained there for a couple of years, but then the homeless shelter itself became homeless and scrambled around to find a place every season. They were at that point open from October through April, pretty much every night. They were manned by volunteers. Every evening there had to be at least 2 evening volunteers who stayed overnight. Ann Clark moved, and in 2001, my parents, who had been involved with the shelter for a while, they became co-directors of the shelter. My mother, it was one of her passions. She had been a public health teacher. She taught public health nursing throughout her career, and that was her passion. She saw the homeless and felt that was where she was called to serve, and so she did. My father, Richard, was sort of pulled along, and then that was what happened. He willingly did it. He was wonderful. And they spent many, many, many nights here. I lived in New York at the time, and I would come down to visit, and I would barely see my parents, because every night they had to leave in order to be at the shelter to be here with the guests. I happened to be there on the night of the fire. I was visiting them, and they came home in the wee hours of the morning, and they smelled like smoke, and it was really obviously traumatic for everybody involved. But in 2001, they became the co-directors, and they really wanted it to be a more permanent thing. And in 2012, we were able to purchase a building, purchased from Will Campbell. He took back the mortgage at the time, and a year later forgave the rest of the mortgage, which was such a blessing. We were able to, at that point, accommodate 34 people. We have only ever served adults because we don't have the capability of segregating adults from children, and therefore we can't really serve children at this point. We incorporated in 2007 as a 501(c)(3). We're able to raise money for the renovations that had to be done on the building, and in 2013 hired our first director. And since then we've had a director, and then we ended up adding staff. Finding volunteers became difficult a little bit, and also having the same volunteers. It was necessary to have some consistency with rules and things like that with the people we were serving. Brought on full-time staff. In 2017, we actually went year-round. We were able to do that. One of the reasons for that was since we had the staff, we didn't have anything for them to do in the summer anyway, and we didn't want to have to worry about letting go staff and then rehiring, because that's difficult. We wanted the same staff, and we've been blessed with several long-time staff members. We also started a program called Abundant Life, which is to help some of our homeless become unhomeless. We partnered with Athens Tech and several other places that do job training, Bread for Life, Workforce Innovators, I think it was. Anyway, we've partnered with a few of these places that can provide job training for our homeless. In the case of Athens Tech, they can get a GED if they don't have their GED. So we've partnered with them, and they get the job training, and then they get a job, and we work with them on budgeting and saving money so that they can get a down payment, first month's rent, all the utility turn on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and be able to get their own apartments.